Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86. Here you will find everything from your favorite characters, from anime, series, or movies, such as figures, statues, trading cards, and other limited special edition items. I will show you everything that is included. For example, we will discuss the design of the box, how it's packaged, the design of the figure, the articulation points, the accessories that are included, and we will see our favorite characters in special scenes. And you never know, you might see other characters make special guest appearances, so you can decide whether it's worth getting or not. Subscribe and join me on new weekly adventures. Now let's start the show. Let's go. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86, and today from Pokemon and Funko Pop I present to you the 3 legendary dogs. These are the 3 that have been released all throughout 2025, with the last one being Raikou. One of the things about these 3 legendary dogs is that they have been released by Funko Pop as jumbo size. And as you can see, these boxes are really huge. Which some folks, they are not a big fan of the jumbo size. I myself would rather have the regular size. But on this one, obviously we're limited to only having the jumbo size. So who knows, maybe in the future they'll reintroduce them again as a regular size Funko Pop. Even now they started doing the mini size. To me, those are not really appealing. The only thing that I could think of that they will come in very handy is if you're really pressed on for shelf space. I think that's where the minis would have an advantage over the regular size ones. But to me, the regular size are just the better way to go. The jumbo ones, to me, they feel a little bit overkill. But who knows, maybe after this unboxing, I'll have a different view on them. Let me know in the comments if you prefer the jumbo size over the regular size. This is what the boxes look like on the back side. So you have a half crop top picture of the figure along with their element symbol. Raikou is electric, Entei is fire, and Suicune is water. In case you're wondering the differences between a regular Funko size versus a jumbo one, the regular size is about 1/4 the dimension of the jumbo. All 3 of them are packaged in one blister pack. Just to be mindful because how heavy these Funko Pop figures really are, you will notice that the bottom portions of the blister packs are ripped. Here's the 360 for Raikou, which is the first legendary one from the Pokédex number wise. Raikou is known as the Thunder Pokemon. And all 3 figures come in from the 2nd generation of Pokemon, and it's basically one of the side quests from Pokemon Gold, Silver, as well as Crystal later on. And honestly, for some reason, to me, when I played the games, Raikou was always the easiest ones to catch. Not to mention Suicune was always the first one to show up. As the story goes, all 3 legendary dogs were resurrected by Ho-Oh after the burning of the Brass Tower, which became the Burn Tower. And that is actually in the games where you go into the Burn Tower, you go all the way to the bottom, and that's where you wake up the 3 legendary dogs, to where then they run off and they run through the whole area of Johto, showing up randomly. And if you remember from the video games, usually you weren't able to track them, but once they showed up on the Pokédex, you could go through it and actually see where they were. And their movement basically changed the minute you moved between sections. So if you went from one road to a city and vice versa, you would go back to the Pokédex and then you will see that the legendary dog had moved from its current location. And also the other thing that I hated was when you encounter them, if you didn't catch them, they would also able to roar or flee, making them even harder to catch. I remember the key thing to encounter them when you were in the wild with them was basically using a max repel. That way he was the only Pokemon that would show up. So when you were using it, you already knew that you were about to go up against a legendary dog. As far as the details that Funko Pop included on this Raikou, I really like it. To me, it looks really good. I like all the details that they put in there. He is not over exaggerated or anything. It took me a while to get all 3 of them, since most of these were released through special events, where Raikou came out of the 2025 Fall Convention. That was available to Funko exclusively online, but if you missed it, don't sweat it. Amazon's got plenty to go around because of a second release through them. Entei was released in Funko Pop's Summer Convention, and Suicune was released through the Funko Pop 2025 Wanderers Convention, making all 3 of them event exclusive figures. Let me know in the comments out of the 3 legendary dogs which one is your favorite one. And one thing to notice, for being legendary dogs, Honestly, they look more like cats. Raikou resembles a tiger, Entei resembles a lion, and Suicune basically resembles, I don't know, maybe a cheetah or something. They really don't resemble dogs, which is what they're supposed to be. The one thing that I do see is because of the size of the figure, you get to see more details, but the downfall is that you also get to see all the quality marks. If you look very closely, you can see some paint marks. Even within the paint, you can see different sections that have different colors, which just shows how they did the finishing of the paint job. And that is just due of the quality of the Funko Pops. They're not the best in the game as far as quality goes, but as far as representation goes, it's really good. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts. So this is Suicune, also known as the Aurora Pokemon. And honestly, this one was the first one that Ash encountered if you watch the Pokemon series that showed up. And he looks really great. One thing to note, just similar to Entei, Suicune is the heaviest one out of the three. And that is because he's got that gigantic head along with that gigantic mate that goes all the way to the back. So because of that, this particular figure does come with a stand that can be attached to the front bottom paw. And that is basically to stabilize the figure, because this one out of the other two doesn't perfectly sit flat on the floor. It ends up leaning towards one side. That again explains why you really need to have him in the base. But if you don't mind the small tilt, you can also make it work without the base. That is just something to note about the option. And obviously this one did obliterate the blister pack at the bottom. It is a little bit fragile with the little pieces that go off to the side, so just be very careful with them. As far as the details go, they're very good, they're very minimal. Again, it captures the essence of this Pokemon. Going forward in the future, I know what Funko Pop has said in the public about having investors not invest because they don't know if the company is going to make it through another year. But when you look at the portfolio, they still have a lot of figures that are caught out to be had. So I'm hoping that they still continue to finish the whole Pokemon figure line. And where I want the emphasis is not on the Johto or the ones that came afterwards, but I really want them to finish the Kanto one, which is the original 151. I say that because for me, I started collecting those Funko Pops from the original 151. And what I want to do with those is I want to share them with you as I progress through the collection. So be on the lookout for those videos that are going to be out there at some point this year, where I'm just gonna go and start getting all the Funko Pop figures. I know as of right now they have already announced the next set, which features Magmar, Ivysaur, and Electabuzz. And I'm really excited for those three figures to come out, and hopefully we get more. And going back to what Funko Pop has said in public as far as how the company goes, I still think the company is still able to make it. They just have to downsize their portfolio. I think that is one of the biggest plagues that is really ruining the company, because designing all these different characters and having the machine set up for the tooling and all that, it's very expensive to do that, especially if you're not selling that many units. An example of that is you can see through Funko Pop's catalog, they do everything that is out there, even characters that you never heard of or just random ones. And on some of those, I really think to myself, do you really need to have that particular character? Especially when they do the variants where they give you the main character, then they give you a variant of the character doing a slightly different pose or its outfit is slightly different, and then all of a sudden you have 20 variations of the same figure. And obviously only the hardcore collectors are going to go after those, but the other ones, they might just end up getting one or two. And it also goes up to the character's popularity, because on some of those, depending on the franchise, it might not even be popular enough to even be worthy of a Funko Pop representation. The next one is Entei, also known as the volcano Pokemon, which is basically said to be born whenever a new volcano appears. And that is usually how they've been depicting them in the Pokemon cards. They always have him right next to a volcano. And he looks very fearsome and he looks really good. I remember when he came out in the third Pokemon movie, Spell of the Unknown, Entei was basically the illusionary character that Molly had made up, representing her quote-unquote father. As far as the Funko Pop figure goes, I like the details that they included here. The one thing that really is noticeable is that headpiece is massively heavy. That is one thing to keep in mind. Because of the way the head is sculpted, honestly, I thought that they would have done these vinyl figures through the blow up process where they would be hollow on the inside, but the figures are solid. So just imagine all that solid plastic underneath this paint job, which I like how they sculpt them. They capture enough features to let you know that this is the legendary dog. But again, the head is massively heavy. I'm actually surprised that the figure is actually able to balance itself out. And that is one of the reasons why I say keeping these figures in the blister packs is not a good idea, because I'm sure the minute that it gets put in the blister pack, I'm pretty sure it starts to put pressure at the bottom portions of it, especially if the box is sitting in the upright direction. So with time, you will see that the blister pack is going to be ripped and cracked. And I don't know how that goes for the second hand person that buys the figure, or those collectors that have them all nice tucked in within the box. So just again, it's just something that I want to stress out to the collector community out there, especially those that are after these Pokemon and are big fans of keeping them inside the box, because that is quote unquote their prestige condition. But for these, I just don't advise it. Once you take it out of the box, you will see all the deformations that have occurred of it just sitting there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they started to do some of the 3D printing portions, especially when you look at the spikes that are coming out of the main hair. Those to me look like they are 3D printed. To me, they do not look like they were molded nor casted. There are some out there that I bought in the past that I'm still hoping for them to finish the full set. One of the examples that recently came out was the Street Sharks, where they only gave us 3 of them. But for those of you that remember the show, there's a lot more characters there. So to me, I'm still on the fence whether to get the first 3, because I would really hate to have a partial collection without any ability to finish it. And that is something that is pending out of the Pokemon Funko Pops, which is based on how the company does. Even though they said that, I'm still hopeful that they will continue on with the business, or at least scale it back down to where you're only doing some core main characters. And obviously one of the ones that I'm putting my bags on is on the Pokemon series line. The other one that I would like for them to finish would be the Gatchaman figure line. Again, on that one I have 3, but I'm missing the other 2 characters to complete it. And hopefully in the future they decide to go back to the figure line so I can complete it and then share it with you on this channel. But overall, these are all the Funko Pops that I've seen so far from the Pokemon collection that I'm planning on doing. So I'll kind of do a Pokédex similar to how it shows up in the Pokemon games, where you see the character and you see the silhouette, which is shaded out or it doesn't give you any information. Overall, I really like what Funko Pop did with these 3 legendary dog Pokemon. I would really like to see how they do the legendary bird ones. Hopefully they don't do them in jumbo size, but if they end up doing them, then it is what it is. I will still end up getting those, just because of how I like to have the trio of the legendaries. I really like the Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos, and because of that, having Raikou, Entei, and Suicune is no different. To me, they just complement each other in so many ways. You have Lugia versus Ho-Ho and the whole story behind them. So it is really nice to have them as Funko Pops. That is something that I like about Funko Pop, that they started the saga of the 3 legendary dogs and they actually completed it. The only thing that I don't like is that they came in jumbo size, but honestly, when you look at all of them together, it becomes less noticeable because the figures, they're not that tall themselves either. Compared to a Funko Pop, they're twice the height, but overall, you're not even going to notice that once you have all 3 of them and you see how amazing they are. Just make sure you have the shelf space for them. And if you're fact keeping, you will notice that I said I'm interested in the 151, but here, as you know, the 3 legendary dogs were not part of the 151. They came as part of the second wave, but yet, and that is because I really like the 3 legendary dogs. So when I saw the first 2, I knew eventually the Raikou was going to show up. So once it showed up, I was able to pull the trigger to get the other 2. They're not really difficult to get. I think Entei might be the hardest one, but the other 2, as of right now, you can easily have access to them. This is all I have for you today. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you next week with a brand new one. Thank you and bye.